On the 95th day of my 79th year as a body, and my 41st day and 60th year as a syntax wiper for the ordo Germanitis deliriatio, I was dutifully sucking the debt from the Wiggly-wot rugs of augmentation, with mine loyal vacuum companion at mine side, when so it happened that a sprugish rodent of the Dremel did appeareth before me, which didst then proceed to attacketh the groaning old beast in mine hand. A great battle ensued thereafterward, and from the many hoses of Hoover, there arose a great trembling and a quaking of the machine, whereupon Blorms the rodent was viciously devoured. And verily, from the bowels of Thien Thar Merkstly vacuum there billowed a great ghastly pooft of odorous smog most foul, and the rodent was cast up into flames, 11 men. And lo, I beheld that when a vacuum didst so suck, that it dideth not inderply blow, but, verily, when the vacuum didst so blow, it dideth also suck to a great extent. And lo, I found there to be no sense of logic in this finding, which I didst so findeth to be true, having, verily, found it. And lo, as I found this to be true, I didst so inderply become witness to the godly nature of all vacuums. And lo, there cameth unto me a great big serpent, which did so have for its mouth a strip of great power, with which it used to control a great big vacuum, and lo, riding high upon the great big vacuum was a woman, draped in gowns of cheese-whiz cloth and elder cherries. The woman carried in her right hand the sound of one hand clapping, in her left, a string of black pearls. Around her head there sprattled a venomous ring of verbs, and from her mutilated lips didst splortle a Merkstly phlegm. And lo, I beheld Wiggly-wot that the woman had a great big following of followers who didst so follow her, parading about behind her with wiggly mores in a fashion most peculiar what. Just then, a stranger of the Fnord came unto me and spoke to me of the marvelous things that I didst so behold in that hour. If mine memory serves to be correct, these were his words. The vacuum is the folly llama, and the woman you behold is the keeper of lots. It is said that when the keeper of lots shall parallel park a llama, the hosts of Ulam shall crow madly with intoxication and fall prostrate at her feet. Who shall parallel park a llama but for the keeper of lots? Beware, for the sound of one hand clapping is a trap, as its mimicry is of the echo of the quacking duck, and verily can be heard, but is nonetheless an hoax. This is a vision of the keeper of not so much, who sits at the right hand of the one who rides the folly llama. Do not fall victim to the gross profits of not so much. Those who do so, seek to invoke nothing but sneer in their followers. This is false claptrap. Only by its smirks shall ye know true flibberjabber from mere hogwacky. The black pearls which are left, are the pearls of Wigdom, for which her followers wiggle so. The mysteries of these are to be sealed shut, and yea, I shall unreveal them to you at a future time. The ring of verbs which adorns and inderply pierces the skull of the keeper of lots, reflaments a poisoned lexicon, the presence of which creates the Merkstly phlegm which thou dost perceive to sprattle from her mutilated lips. This is however the opposite of what it seems, for in with such toxicity of metaphor lieth the nature of the truth, as it is besmocked with the illusion of all that is vile, when such is the case that it is vigorously an indubitable breakdown of the katma of beauty, in all its great big ugliness. What so forth their floor sprattles, is the necessary phlegm of change, and as such, oozes with the aftergirth of cliché. This ye shall not fear, but imbibe with gusto of great bigness. These were the words which the stranger of the Fnord spoke unto me in my darkest hour. Yea, verily, I bespeak them to be the truth, that I shall be a right Wiggly-wot messenger of these bizarre events. One evening, on the 96th morning of my 79th year as a body, and my 42nd day and 60th year as a syntax wiper for the ordo Germanitis deliriatio, as I was duly wiping clean the parchments of folly, of all of mankind's sins and taxations, the stranger of the Fnord once again bespoke to me of the things which I had seen so long ago, which had in fact been yesterday, which had in fact been the 95th day of my 79th year as a body and my 41st day and 60th year as a syntax wiper for the ordo Germanitis deliriatio. The stranger told me that the time had come wherein thought it should be delivered to me the nonsense that comprises the mysteries of the pearls of Wigdom, which are most black in colour, and war dobst swing suspended upon a strand, yea, a string most godly in nature, within the left hand of the keeper of lots, who doth ride high upon the folly llama, who both spits and swallows, yea verily. And verily, I didst so flump my present duties of wiping, to stop and consider the words which were inglautly splortal thereat. These are the words which the stranger of the Fynord did mutter in that hour. Be let go, for the time has come where florp, ye shall be made aware of the mysteries of the strand of black pearls which yea, are the pearls of Wigdom, which ye saw in your former look-see, and the number of the pearls is 23. For each pearl, there is a corresponding moniker, and for each moniker which dost correspondeth to each pearl, there is a meaning, the meaning of which also applies to the pearl whose moniker's correspondence doth equally apply to whatever pearl is in question, yea. Here are the names of the 23 pearls of Wigdom, henceforth but only sometimes hereafter referred to as the pows, which are the most godly bile products of the great immortal oyster of unknowability, henceforth and probably always hereafter referred to as the great IOU, as they were finally unrevealed and unexplained to me, by the stranger of the Fynord, in, yea verily, this, the 96th day of my 79th year, 11 men. The first pearl of Wigdom, yea, bears the name of peat moss, and is formerly known as the sphagnum pearl. This is the first pearl of Wigdom, and, as such, retains the waters of the seas of Tees, whose natures are after the breakfast of the Emerald Isle. It is frometh this Wiggly-wot gem that the merry glad elephants of nature arise, and do trumpet obnoxiously. The second pearl, verily, bears the name Nyx. Indisputably, this pearl of Wigdom is the darkest of the pows, and is the snart contraplubal of the first pow, in that as the first pearl doth render nonsense its non-material nature, the second pearl doth so fleep and mangle the jargle wots in a manner most rude what. This is necessary of course, for the balance between bow and weevil. The third pearl is nameless, and therefore bears no name, and its namelessness is not to be named by any name. The fourth pow goes by the name of Entropia. This most wiggly of Wigdom-laden pearls is the flinger of thermogrammatics, and it is a sportly ball of bile, indubitably. The fifth pearl of Wigdom is known as pearl, and rightly so, for it is most likely some kind of pearl, being black and pearl-like in structure and having been coughed forth submersely from the great IOU. Pearl wears the great big pink bow of toxicity and semantic splurgery. The sixth pearl, yea, being the one after 5, is known merely as the pearl of 5 plus 1, or, sometimes, the pearl after pearl. This power illustrates the devious arts of smarm and smattery and is the number 1 stan of the fifth pearl of Wigdom, which is, as afore splortled, appropriately known as pearl. The seventh pearl is bob. The eighth pearl of Wigdom carries the burdensome moniker, Jaime Julio Jose de los Java Beñe del Jalapeños, or the pearl of 5 J's, yea for the sake of sanity. The pearl of 5 J's ye shall fear with all of your feet and souls, for it is this pearl that has forced many men to go to great lengths to find respite from its spicy repertortis sauce, which dost so slough through its porous skin without fleur fondue. Ye have been warned. The ninth pow, whilst technically nameless, doth not go est unnamed, as it is referred to as namely, the nameless ninth. This is a most mysterious and introverted pearl. As such, it doth so stubbornly refuse to speak about itself, and, as follows, not much is known about it excepting the fact of its named namelessness. And lo, the 10th pearl of Wigdom is typically known as Murgatroyd here, while the 11th verily bears the dumbwort title of Murgatroyd hem. These two prefer to be left right in the off-center, side by side each other. They do not do much of anything really, but they look quite cool together, which is most profound, as in and of itself, looking cool is super duper important. The 12th pearl of Wigdom is a most asymmetrical pearl, and as such, is known as the ball of most displeasing oyster bile, or explore bluntly, the bomb-dob pow. In the hour of the coming of the great IOU, the bomb-dob pow will unveil the names of those who didst so florp tupulently follow the keeper of lots with a passion of highest wiggly wanking. Those who have fulfilled to the fullest the what wiggly nature of no matter will in no sense receive reprieve from the syntaxation upon their lots in life, therein so derply casting away their debts to the great immortal oyster of unknowability. Know ye then the difference betwixt bow and weevil, and verily, avoid knowing not so much. And lo, the stranger of the Fnord didst expoundeth upon these topics, and didst so splurch forth with thine details of the next 11 pearls of wisdom. And yea, verily, I dobst doon possess thine excremental wisdom therein. But, lo and yea, verily, it was told to me that the hour of the passing of days was nigh, and to away to slumber until the dawning of Thursday, so that I mayest continue with these words in a newer and less intimidating post. Verily, I didst so derply wait for the morrow, at which point I didst expound Flurber. On the 97th day of my 79th year as a body, and my 43rd day and 60th year as a syntax wiper for the Ordo Germanitis deliriatio, I awoke in mine rumpled sheets with a finish, only to find that there snozzed beside me a stranger in mine futon. Yea, in derply, 'twas the obnoxious stranger of the Fnord. The stranger too was provoked to a wakeful state by the provocative clacking of mine teeth, provoking him to sit upright, which was provocation for me to see him in his entirety, and, hither Fnord, he was much more fugly in broad daylight than he'd seemed on the evening of my 96th morning and 79th year as a body. Howsoever, I did not kick him out of bed, nor was I blamhashed. Instead, I chalked this anomaly up to the voluminous amounts of the red wine of the endangered horny flans, which, yea, the both of us had wilfully imbibed, and lo, uponst which the both of us had grown drunk and high, yea verily, thence upon that yesterdate of Wednesday evening upon Blomp. As such what, I had only myself to shame. The day of this most shocking cantaloupe mentation was Thursday, and 'twas on Thursday that I did expoundeth with on mine yellow pad of collegiate lining, uponst the remaining 11 pearls of wisdom, beginning with the 13th, and, as is abso, ending with the 23rd, as per the beschmerst of the stranger still lying nakefully in mine chamber, 11 men. These are the explauntentions him from. The 13th, and some say luckiest pearl of wisdom, bears the title of Schroikner, because he beschroiks the birth of the risen bow weevil, that old and dastardly beast spawn, that union of subfission and compromise. The one who is the real one will bewail to hear the shroiks of the shroiking pearl called Schroikner, who beschroiks the bow weevil with greatly amplified shroikage. Those to witness the bereeling of the real one of the 3 wands must also be smoke the shroiking as whale, whilst the other 2 wands will not, narwhale they be reeled. But, more on that one later. The 14th pearl of wisdom is known as Hermf. Hermf is the digester of sneers, and it is by this pearl that the followers of the keeper of not so much will be ill-urinated or otherwise converted into the primordial poo. Verily, none who is snaffed by the snaffer that is Hermf shall escape the fate of being thrust into the witless pit of fools. To wit, all of those who bear hogwalk, witless, shall verily be cast into this pitiful witless pit of fools, and yea, shall be droppeth into the pool, most likely to await a smelly lumpish retardation of spirit. These shall be flushed clean of sin and taxation, and, once merply, shall witness another Brian cycle, at which point they may listen for the shroiking of Schroikner, whose shroiking can only be heard by those not selected by Hermf, and, of course, by only one wan. The 15th carries the noble name of Turdis. It is by the magical manatees of this most magical of wiggly pearls that the magical retardation of spirit may happen splaunce again and again. Twere it not for Turdis, no follower of the keeper of not so much would ever be capable of the demental transvestation that must ensue for there to be an ultimate mojo rising. 16th amongst the pearls is the pearl called Spap, and as is understood, he dobst so spap fully spap, like unto any exploratory spapish bastard. The 17th pearl of wisdom is the one called Lasso Pumba, and this pearl holds the lassos of kelp and pumbosity within its Wiggly-wot polished sphere. Using these, Lasso Pumba doth so mag splorchantly degall and deliver to the right wiggly gnomes of Carpe Diem tea, the ingredients of kelpish tea, completed by the sparsest flint of pumbosity, which is, yea, quite a refreshing fruity alcoholic concoction of the Wiggly-wots of Sandler, who is, verily, the subsequent pearl of wisdom. 18th in the string, ye shall behold the pearl named Sandler, and yea, his vast surface is lush floor deeplen. He is the easer of the easel of ye, and his pumbosity is a doubly hedged Fnord. Be ye most fruitful of his snares, yet never be wary of his wares, unless his wares be fruitless snares, in which case be ye very aware. This should be most clear. 19th amongst the pearls dangles old irritable crud, the most cordial of all of the most divine bile products of the great IOU. Old irritable crud is a charming old fud, and a charming old fud he be. He sparkled for you, and he chortled for too, and he too car the hookah to me. I swear unto thee as the goddess of folly is mine witness, these are the actual words the stranger of the Fenord spoke unto me. The 20th pow is typically known as the loosener of hat brims lacking the most gracious endowment of width, and this pearl doth, verily, make less tight the brims of all hats whose tautness is of a most oppressive and narrow nature. The 21st pearl in this most godly of pearl strands, being the one after the number 20, and their flaup, not the one before the number 20, is aptly called the not 19th pearl. Ye shall not concern yourself with the not 19th, for it is a most foul and grumpy pearl. 22nd in the strand is the Chloe pearl, whose name is not ironically also Chloe, and who is, as should be absorbent, yet another pearl of wigdom. Chloe is the great pearl of all bowling pins and of all bowling alleys everywhere, ever, and thusly reprehints the super godly sport of bowling. Do ye not be so quick to mock the nature of Chloe. For this pearl's game of bowling is most nonsensical, utilizing pins most non-material for the striking, and casting upon the stroked balls of mankind a laugh most guttural what. The 23rd and final pearl of wigdom is, in Derpley, the most splork-tuculent of all the wiggly pearls upon the great big strand. It is so right-what full of phony baloney that it has been given not one, not two, but three names. Only in the days of the Mojo Rising, which occurs cyclically in a manner most rounded what with the constant running of the golden hamster who eternally spins upon the Brian cycle yea, can the one true name of the 23rd and final pearl of wigdom be unrevealed. Until this time, it is anyone's guess as to which of the three names is the one true name of the 23rd pearl of wigdom. The three names which were hither finately bestowed upon the 23rd pearl of wigdom are, in no order, Wan, Wan, and Wan. Which Wan is the true Wan shall be unrevealed at the sight of the great Mojo Rising, by the shrieking of the eternal entity known as Shroikner, who is also known as the 13th Pow, 11 men. When he was finished besplortling these words, the stranger of the Fenord didst pull up his holy jeans and move to vanish, but not before reminding me that he didst so halve mine number, and he wouldst perhaps probably be giving me a ring sometime by the end of next week, maybe, or maybe not next week, but soon. Like in a few weeks, at least. Ish. 26 days and 7 long years duly passed, before the stranger of the Fenord didst arrive eth once merply uponst mine doonstoop, whereupon blomst he didst so provide eth me with some further right wiggly revelations, what wouldst have been most useful what, 7 years ago. But, I digresseth. It was on the 123rd day of my 86th year as a body, and my 69th day and 67th year as a syntax wiper for the ordo Germanitis deliriatio, that the stranger of the Fenord did proffer at this flurber most wigdom regoogling the Brian cycle, the 3 laws of thermogrammatics, and the most wiggly-wot wigdom-laden words of the most acrid folly llama. These were the latter revelations that the stranger of the Fenord didst explunteth unto me with on that right wiggly date, upon blomst. Take ye heed, for the Brian cycle, upon which the golden hamster eternally spins, comes full circle with the eerie call of the llama. Heed the signs of the times on the calendar of the Bryans, for these will be your cue to holleth ass. To where shall ye holleth ass it cannot be said, nor can it be sayest what specific signs for which ye shouldst be wary. It is only known that it begins with the baneful call of the llama, and therewith to hence twat may happeth to be an intergalactic battle betwixt the space pirates and the flan-flinging ninjas which shall emerge, verily, from the bowels of the mirth, which is yea, both flat and hollow at once. The rest of the signs shouldst shortly followeth these other 2 signs, which will probably be pretty obvious, so, just be sure ye take ye some notes upon thine pad of great big paper, be it yellow or yea, be it white. When the Brian cycle, uponst which the golden hamster eternally spins, has begun anew, then shall Chaos Steve be wet with pants of heaving joy at the sight of the Mojo Rising. Then shall ye feed to the goddess of folly, the ability to hear the quacking ducks echo once merply, for so that she may nurture ye in the following Brian cycle, uponst which the golden hamster eternally spins, yea, even now in this time of ominous floor polishing. But if the Brian cycle, uponst which the golden hamster eternally spins, shouldst turneth out to be a vulgar farce of hogwacky, which indeed it very well could est, then it shall not be to any man, woman, or combined product their flop, to give a second thought to such idiocy. Still, the fact remains that one cannot hear the echo of a quacking duck, and this may just be sort of like some kind of dog whistle effect or something. Sometimes it is asked of the master why it must be that to attain nonsense, one must sacrifice one's normal ears. This is not so. Normal ears are useful for normal hearing, but sometimes it is essential for one to perceive underlying homonymous, and to bemold the rhythms of the primes of nature. One must suspend one's normal ears for a moment, to glimpse at the patterns of ears not juxtaposed. Only then can one fully perceive the beautifully sporadic accident that our normal ears truly are. But this wisdom renders neither type of ear obsolete. Contrariwise, this makes it so that those who seek wisdom must learn to hear not with 2 elephant ears, but with 4 ears, so that they mayest perceive the elephant itself, which is most large and obnoxious, and lo, doth trumpeteth loudly. That is all on this topic, Fleur Snertly. The following are some of many of the Folly Lama's words of wisdom, which, for some unknown reason, it didst so bespittle onto me, regarding the issues of thinking and speaking, and generally believing things around other people who mayest or mayest not also think, speak, and generally believe stuff. Especially in the right gronkly event that it becomes necessary what ye shouldst have to think about what ye shall speak, assuming it may arise what ye shouldst have to speak about what ye believe Fnord forbid. What people whilst remember most merply about you, is not what you think, speak, or believe, but, how so you think, speak, and believe it. Thence to Gronk, they whilst also remember whether or not what you speak is what you believe, and whether or not what you believe is really what you think or just something you heard someone else speak and so write what believed it, yea. As a matter of spapt, they whilst also remember what they believe that you think, which whilst not necessarily be what you believe that you spoke, in which case you should maybe think rightly before speaking what you're thinking at all. Come to think of it, you maybe wants to rethink thinking beliefs altogether what I think, but what's just my personal belief. And regarding personal beliefs, it's probably best what just to think for yourself and let others believe what dumbwort things they whilst. The stranger of the Fnord didst so then begin to expoundeth upon Blomps the 3 flaws of thermogrammatics. The first flaw goes as follows: in any sentence, legible what or other wig, the total amount of reason which can be discerned by a basic neural network, including the networks of whale-red amphibians and some semi-globular smarmosatic grubs' feces, remains constant, regardless of language or lacks their flop. The second flaw flows as garlows, the unintended grammatical errors of an outdated writing structure. What attempts to systematically edit the works of abstract thought will tend to increase over time, despite the frantic efforts of arsely resplendent profunters of language to stop it, approaching chrysanthemum value, at complete and utter nonsense. The third flaw abs wo glyphos, as reason and logic are promulgate absolute zero, the grammatical errors of the writing system are promulgate a constant, and in fact, eventually become unwittingly intended, which, in derply, can't really happeth. Thus forwards a new writing system is born, and yea verily, must once again be shattered to wit with the unintended intention of retrieving it once merply, so twat it may be all scrizzied up again, so twat yea it may be once again unscrizzied, and so on and so forth, indubitably. There have been some thermogrammatics researchers who have come forward to conflawful up potential 4th flaws of thermogrammatics. Mostly all, but not nearly enough of the 4th flaw theories, are attempts to glue thermogrammatics to mutation, which is potentially quite possible, but quite possibly just a great big joke probably. These were the brief but Wiggly-wot words resplortled to me by the stranger of the Fnord on this, yea verily, my 123rd day and 86th year as a body, after once the stranger was taken up flop snortly, into a whirly poofed of merskly snark, and there gronkly he unappeared from mine poorly vision, 11 men. The days passeth, and then the seasons, and then, obsplorblently, the years. I duly continued my duties as a syntax wiper for the Ordo Germanitis Deliriatio for another 14 years after this last visitation from the stranger of the Fynod, without incident or insight at all, but all the whilst keeping in sight my holy suspension which, yea verily, I duly earned, be flumpet not. It was on the premiere date of my 100th year as a body, and my 311th day and 80th year working for the Ordo Germanitis Deliriatio, that I dutifully resigned my Gronxly duties as a syntax wiper, and thereafterward, I graduated to a much higher calling as a great big leader of a vast colony of forlorneth blam-harshed felines off the sprotly wattled sand dunes of Los Flangeles Faulicornia. These are the veritable truths of mine years and of mine droompish duties, and of the many great big and holy revelations of the stranger of the Fynod, to whomst I remaineth an humble servant even to this day, even unto mine death and afterward. And these truths and revelations, I now duly shareth, for thunst few who wouldst so glorply watch the what wiggly signs, which whilst appeareth, yea verily, per Wiggly-wot. 11 men,